Right, it's the Transfer Centre on talkSPORT2 with myself, Adi Oladipo. Right, all things now Spurs. What's going to happen with them? New manager as well, Nuno Espirito Santo at the club. They are going to need to spend some money, I think, to compete next season. More importantly, though, will their talisman, and now 4 goals in the Euro 2020, Harry Kane, stay? Let's welcome in Chris Cowlin, Spurs YouTuber. Chris, always appreciate you coming on. Thank you so much for giving us some time here. Let's start with your main man, Harry Kane. He's come out and says he's had words with your new sporting director, Fabio Paratici, and, you know, he almost seems like he's happy at Spurs, Harry Kane, listening to what he had to say. Does that give you hope that he will stay this season, at least?
Adi, you sound surprised that he's happy at Tottenham. Of course he's happy at Tottenham. Let me first just say, it's coming home, by the way.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? It is, isn't it? Let's start on that. Go on, and let's talk a bit of football. England. Impressive, wasn't it, yesterday? Really was.
Unbelievable.
Just
Unbelievable.
The
I was
crazy.
very, very lucky to be in Wembley Stadium.
Oh, don't rub it in.
That atmosphere. The atmosphere was fantastic last week against Germany.
Yeah.
I have never, ever cried at a football match before, but last night was special. Very, very special. That final whistle, the thought of England going into a major final in a tournament, it was just incredible. An incredible feeling. But the atmosphere, 60,000 fans in there, it was just amazing. It
wasn't it? And what I love with England as well is that kind of the ride, right? The adrenaline dump, and then it pulls again. When Damsgaard scored, and you're thinking, oh my God, this is it. We're big trouble here. And then they pick it up. And, you know, Chris, look, me and you are of a certain age where we've watched a lot of the England squads, and every time I watch England, they look knackered. I'm like, where's all the energy gone? This England squad looked like they could have gone for another 20 minutes.
This England squad is just, you know, one of the best I've seen. And it's funny because when I'm let down by England, it's like watching Spurs. You know, we go so far and then we foul at the final hurdle, and the trophy's a long time coming. So I'm very used to that, watching England, and watching Spurs is very much the same. But this England team, I think, you know, definitely we can go all the way. It's going to be a very difficult game on Sunday against the Italians.
Yeah.
But, you know, we've got to have that belief, and Harry Kane is, you know, driving the team forward. Gareth Southgate has done remarkably well, and, you know, we've got to have faith as a nation. But the way that the country has got together, you know, particularly last night, and, you know, it's put the country in such a good mood, and, you know, we've got to believe now that we can go all the way and lift that trophy.
I'm so happy to speak to you as a Spurs fan about Harry Kane, because for me, and look, I've openly said this, Chris, I feel like he looks knackered. Like, obviously, watching Harry Kane week in, week out, what do you see? I mean, do you see the same sharpness? What is it?
He works so hard. I tell you, in the first half, Harry Kane was dropping deep, and we're very used to seeing him dropping deep so often at Spurs.
Yeah.
And, you know, other fans around me, they were moaning, saying, you know, Harry Kane, come on, get in the box. You know, get in the 6-yard box where we need you. We need to score a goal. But we're so used to him being all around the pitch and doing so much work. And that's what's made him, you know, a world-class striker. He's one of the best in the world. And, you know, he wants to do everything. He wants to defend. He wants to play in midfield. He wants to play up front. He wants to do everything. And he can do everything. And that's why, you know, don't ever doubt a player of this ability. You know, I know he didn't score goals in the group stage, but, you know, my word, I think he's going to finish as the tournament's top goal scorer. I don't think there's any doubt about that.
You know what he needs? Jordan Pickford said if they win this, him and Declan Rice, and I think Jack Grealish are going to Vegas. Harry Kane needs to go Vegas after. He needs he needs the Vegas trip of all Vegas trips just to relax again and just have a good break. He needs a rest, doesn't he?
But you know what, Adi? He loves it. He wants to be involved in every single game, and that's what's great about having a fantastic player like him. But to talk about him possibly moving away from Spurs, you know, who is going to spend £150 million? Because, you know, it's been reported that Manchester City have put in the bid of £100 million. I think they're way, way off. And, you know, the way he's banging in goals in the Euros at the moment, I think this fee is just going, you know, up.
What about the options? I mean, we heard, I think, about a couple of weeks ago, like 100 million plus Raheem Sterling, and 100 million plus a Laporte, or 100 million plus a Jesus. I mean, I know, Chris, like, obviously, ideally he stays, and I know you're obviously going to want him to stay, but if those were options given to you, like 100 million plus Raheem Sterling, you don't turn that down, do you?
I don't think you would turn it down. I just think it's very unlikely. Raheem Sterling's on an awful lot of money at Manchester City. I think that I just don't see that deal happening, because I don't think the player would want to move to Tottenham because of the amount of money he's on at Manchester City. I just think it's very unrealistic. But I think if Harry Kane was to leave Tottenham, I think it's got to be £150 million plus. And I think it would be very hard for Tottenham to turn that figure down. Don't get me wrong, as a Tottenham fan, I want him to spend the rest of his career at Spurs and hopefully win trophies. for Tottenham. But the money's got to be right if he does leave.
Yeah, no, it really has to. All right, let's talk about other places where Tottenham need to strengthen, and they clearly do at the back. Although I will say, I think Joe Rodon had a fantastic tournament for Wales in Euro 2020, so he could be one that gets more playing time under Nuno Santo. But you were interested in Jerome Boateng. I know that he is now going to be joining Roma, it looks like. Disappointed to miss out on him, or he's probably... his best days are way behind him. I don't think he's one. He's certainly not one for the future, and I almost feel like it's a backward step side of him anyway.
It'd be a very, very interesting summer. And when I say summer, the Premier League starts for Spurs against Manchester City on the 15th of August. That's only just 5 weeks away.
Yeah.
So it's a big, huge 5 weeks for Tottenham. We've got to offload a number of players this summer, and we've got to bring in a number of players. And the key area for Tottenham this summer is definitely the defence. We struggled defensively so often last season. A right back, we definitely need a right back. In an ideal world, we need 2 new centre backs. We need a playmaker.
Wow.
I still don't think that we've replaced Christian Eriksen in that department. And of course, Carlos Vinicius and Gareth Bale have now gone back to their respective clubs. Both had a loan spell at Spurs last year. So again, we're in this position where we do need a backup striker to Harry Kane. So a lot of business to be done. But it's very interesting to see or hear how much money Tottenham have to spend this summer, because of course that is unknown. But a number of Spurs fans do want to see a number of players going out the door, because a number of fans don't think that a number of these players are good enough for the club anymore. So it's a big transition for Nuno Espirito Santo. But of course, Fabio Paratici has come in from Juventus, done some fantastic work there. I spoke to the transfer expert Fabrizio Romano yesterday, and he said...
what did he say? Go on.
He said that Paratici actually looks at, say, 10, 12 players in one position. He's very, very careful, selects his player, out of this very long list, and then targets them. He just don't target 1 or 2 players. He has a very, very long list and does it that way. So it'd be very interesting to see how this new dynamic will work at Spurs. Of course, a new manager, new director of football, new board, basically, forming there. So it'd be very interesting to see how that works. But a lot of work to do in 5 weeks. Yeah,
a lot. I think there are a lot of players that, without being rude, I don't know if they're good enough for the Spurs shirt. It'll be interesting to see what Nuno can do to those. One player that I'm very interested to see what he does next season is Dele Alli. He's got to that age now where it's like, okay, he needs to go to that next level that everyone thought you were going to go to, that he did hit sort of 2-3 seasons ago. Nuno's obviously going to breathe new life into him, but we've seen other managers do that as well. He had a decent start with Jose and then it's dropped off, and Ryan Mason gave him a couple of opportunities, dropped off. Big season for Dele, hasn't it? Really big season. Huge season for Dele Alli, and I think he needs to take this chance now with both hands. And if you look on Dele Alli's Instagram and other social media posts, this summer he has worked so hard. Most players have gone out on holiday, and he has spent most of the time in the gym working very, very hard. And it must have been gutting for him, particularly now to see this England team doing so well. Players like him really wanted to be a part of that, and he's probably very, very gutted about that. So he's got to take this chance. Under a new manager, when a new manager comes in, every single player is playing for the shirt. They're playing for their future anyway. Got to get on very well with the manager and show what they're all about, and hopefully he can do that. They're now back in training, so hopefully you have a head start on some of the other players. Sorry, finally, Chris, I haven't spoke to you since Nuno got appointed as your new manager. What's your thoughts on it? Be honest. I've warmed to the idea. Okay. I've definitely warmed to it. So you were cold initially? I wouldn't say cold. I think that he's here to steady the ship. I think that, Tottenham, we've had a massive decline in the last 2 years. You think 2 years ago we were in a Champions League final, and now we're about to enter the Europa Conference League. It's very, very different competition. But I think for Spurs or for next season, it's all about getting back into that top 4 and getting Champions League football at a wonderful new stadium again. But I think that Nuno, it's all about how much he's backed. It's all about how many players that Paratici brings in this summer, and hopefully, we need trophies. So hopefully Nuno is the man to bring us trophies in the near future. Yeah, let's see what you can do. And I agree with your statement as well. Get behind the new manager, right? There's no point sort of burning him. Get behind him. Let's see what you can do. And I think he's a good manager. A couple of years ago, he was linked with a lot of big clubs. He's fallen down a bit now because of Wolves' last season, but deep down, top manager, and will make your players run and run and run. That's what he did with Wolves.
Well, do you know, Addy, that Paratici actually wanted him at Juventus last year. So he speaks very, very highly of him, wanted him at the Italian club. So, this is a real coup for Spurs, I think. And, we've got to back the manager, and hopefully he will bring success very soon.
Yeah, hopefully he does. Chris Cowlin, Spurs YouTuber. Always great to speak to you, Chris. Thank you very, very much. All right, you're listening to TalkSport 2 with myself, Adi Oladipo, as we look at some of the deals which could be done this summer. Next up, we'll be looking at some of the big deals happening in France.
The TalkSport 2 Social.